sun out there, but it's a little chilly, huh? Listen, happy with the way things worked out last week. Was proud of the guys at the end of the game, so I'll begin with that. But boom, we wake up Monday morning, it's time for another challenge. So we'll move on to that. I'll just open it up.
Coach, the adjustment that you made after getting kind of burned by Aaron Jones against the Packers and then to limit Dalvin Cook the way you did, you talked about some of those uneven matchups with the linebackers and Jones and Williams against the Packers. What did you like specifically with the linebackers and how you were able to adjust?
Well, there was a lot of it didn't come up. We were anticipating that it would. There were a couple of snaps that it did. I thought our guys reacted to it pretty well, and fortunately for us, that issue that we had 2 weeks ago didn't occur. But we got another challenge this week. When they put in Dion Lewis, he's the same kind of guy. So we're going to have to make sure that we're on top of that as well.
How much of Chris Jones moving around was by necessity, having guys injured versus
a little bit of both. A little bit of both. I want to say just before he got injured, we were headed that way. And I don't know if it ended up occurring in a game or not. I can't remember, but I know we had talked about it. And then certainly when he came back last week, we didn't have all our defensive ends, so he helped us out there.
Steve, it seems like Derek Notty's becoming more and more of a factor, and I wonder what you've seen in his growth or what's enabled him to become more of that.
He's been a real pro, second year. You get the rookie mistakes out of the way in the first year, and I think he's found comfort in the fact that he's a starter. He plays a lot of reps, so he gets a lot of work at things. And I really think that Brendan Daly has done a great job with him. And that's a two-way street because Derek really has embraced the coaching from Coach Daly. And I think he gets better and better every week. He's been really solid for us.
When you first saw him, what did you think he needed?
I did like him when, what he needed, I'm not really sure. I mean, Brendan and I talked about it. I just trusted our D-line coaches. But I did like him. I remember when we evaluated all the players that I was impressed with. He wasn't a household name, but I did think he was a solid football player. And he's played that way.
How much do you rely each week on Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, getting everyone set up, and how much trust do you?
Yeah, a lot. He's a leader. I think the guys feel comfortable with him. The two guys back there that really unwind it for us and get everybody is really Hitch and Tyrann. And listen, they embrace those roles. They're really good at it. They're cerebral players. They can slow the game down within the game and help everybody else out. So it's been good.
Steve, you've talked a little bit before about part of the growth of the defense being you getting more comfortable and knowledgeable about player strengths. I'm wondering if Tano lining up inside a little bit more, is that an example of that? What did you need to see?
Yeah, did he end up in there this past game? I lose track of. Some of that has to do with getting in the right situations to do it. I don't know if it's something where we put him in there at a consistent basis because I think he's really comfortable and does some good things for us on the edge as a defensive end and what we call a six technique. So as long as the guys inside that have been in there can keep getting it done, I don't feel like we need to do that. But it's nice to have the flexibility of somebody that can.
Does Frank seem to be close to 100%?
Yeah, I haven't asked, I haven't really checked with Rick. I mean, he's been out there practicing, but I mean, we're going to kind of go based on, he knows his body and the situation, the strength and all that, so we rely on his trust and see where we're at when we get to game time.
The Titans made the QB change a couple weeks ago, 3 games of tape. Just what have you seen in Tannehill?
Yeah, I've always thought he was a really good football player. Even when he was at A&M, I know he's a wideout. He's a really good athlete, so I think we got to be concerned about that. I showed a couple of clips where, let's not take for granted. Let's not think this is just a quarterback that sits there and throws it. And he can get out of the pocket. He can make some. He can extend it down and give us some headaches. And yet I do think he has a really strong arm. I had a conversation with Matt Moore, who was with him in Miami, and Matt had a lot of really good things to say about him. So I think we're playing a guy. I know it was a change in quarterback, but I don't consider him a backup quarterback that's now starting. He was a starter for a long time, and we're going to approach it that way.
Coach, a couple times last week seemed like you guys had a little bit of confusion on the 1 3rd down where they had a quick score. And
the one down in the end zone.
10 guys on the field. Yeah. You normally call the timeout on that, or?
Yeah. Well, I guess we could have done that. In this league, it's really challenging. What had happened and what we heard, they had either signaled or put in 2 different units within all of that. You send one in, and we've got bodies headed in there. Now it's all the way from the 30 to, that's a tough one. We've worked on it since. And then we had to change midstream. It was hard to get enough guys. So that's on me, that's on the coaching staff. You got to get them in there, need to know what they're in sooner. I thought that maybe, normally it's officiated where they kind of stop it, but the official didn't think. The official thought that we had enough time.
Okay.
And he's the guy in charge, so we got to get 11 guys out there and defend it. But we'll hope that doesn't happen again.
So do you normally call the timeout, or is it a player that?
I don't really like to use timeouts. I mean, I think they're for the offense, and I hate to take those away from Coach Reed and Patrick. At the time when it was going on, I thought we had enough people out there. Most of the players played what was called.
Okay.
We had one or two that didn't get it, and kind of cost us a little bit.
Steve, you said you worked on it this week. What specifically did you work on? Getting the right call there and getting the right package out
The
there?
exercise of making substitutions in the red zone. That's what we worked on, as best we could. It's not easy to do. Yeah, it's not easy to simulate that. We tried to do it as best we could. Like if you were gonna put on a play in high school, you'd go out and rehearse it, right? But I mean, that's the best we can do, and hopefully we can get it done.
From the player that you first saw in Colin Saunders at training camp to who he is right now, just where's the biggest area of development from what you've seen from a guy that you didn't necessarily know was going to get thrown in, the injuries he's had to step in? What have you seen from him developmentally over the past 2 years?
He's got he's a lot more confident guy than I thought, which I think is a good thing. I mean, coming from small school and whatnot. And again, I would go right back to the coaching he's getting from Brendan Daly, who I got a lot of respect for. I'm glad that we have him. I think those guys that embrace and absorb what he's teaching, I think all get better as the season goes on. I think him and Derek are examples of that.
The defense has been much improved over the past 3 weeks. We talked to Reggie, and he cited the idea of felt like guys were thinking too much, and that's not happening. Have you gotten the sense that over the past 3 weeks something has clicked with just everybody across the board?
Yeah, I mean, I think they get comfortable with each other. I think they get comfortable with the calls. What are we going into? Game 10 or 11?
Yeah.
Do my math. I think game 10. I mean, and we try not to change things very much so that it does stay consistent. Again, I always say this about defensive football in this league. You can do a million walkthroughs, you can do OTAs, where there's no pads on. And again, we work against one type of offense all that time, just one type of offense. And then we see different offenses when we get into the regular season. It just takes a little while, I think, for everybody to get caught up to speed. But I do think the guys are more comfortable. Hopefully that can stay that way. And when you're comfortable and you're confident, you play faster. So
Kind of to build off that, more individual level, Juan Thornhill said 4 or 5 weeks in the game started to slow down for him.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him?
Yeah, I think that would be true. I think any rookie in the league, it takes a full year before you get there. We're still living with a bunch of our rookies that are in there, we're still living with some mistakes. The position that he plays is, when they happen, it gets exposed. He's been pretty solid recently. We hope it stays that way. It's still about communication in the position that he plays.
Coach, with all of that being said, when you first walked behind the podium, I asked you, what is the identity of your defense? Now, as you see it come together, as guys are maturing, as things are clicking, as guys are coming back from injury, what would you say now is the identity of this defense?
Well, I mean, we would hope it would be a defense that plays fast and aggressive, and combine that with smart football. I mean, we're always talking about situational awareness. I think we got a ways to go in that, but it begins with I might have mentioned this way back when we talk about chasing perfection and relying on relentless. I just think defensive football comes back to that. I think probably what Reggie's talking about helps the relentless when you're more comfortable, less thinking, more playing. So hopefully we're headed that way. Every game's a little bit different.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Steve.